So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be illustrating budgets with spreadsheets. Now, sometimes you want to show the budget by using a graph, right? The focus of today's subject is going to be double bar graphs because this allows us to take a look at budgeted spending and the actual spending that we have for our variable expenses. The reason we use this is because we try to spend our money within our budgets and we control our variable expenses, right? Just remember that you can't really change the fixed expenses, but we can change the variable expenses. Now, based on these examples, right, that I'm going to give you, we're going to go and take a look at some double bar charts and make some inferences, right? So, recall Victoria, right? Remember, she was a 32-year-old waitress from before, right? The list below shows her budgeted and actual variable expenses, because remember, that's what we want to focus on. The only thing that we can control are the variable expenses, right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a double bar graph to compare her budgeted and actual expenses. Remember, budgeted and actual spending, right? So the key is to actually take the information and have it set up in a table very similar to this. Okay? So when we enter the information, you want to have your variable expenses clearly listed, right? You want to have a budgeted column and an actual column. Okay? Now, you're going to paste the information that we have for our expenses into this thing. Now, the best thing about our spreadsheets, remember, to get to your spreadsheets, all you got to do is go to sheets.google.com, and all you're going to do is just create the spreadsheet. Okay? Now, if you're not sure how to do it, remember what you do. You're going to go to here, and you're just going to go sheets.google.com, hit enter, and then click plus, and then create your spreadsheet. Okay? Now, in order to create a double barred format for a graph, all you have to do is start in the top left corner and select across until you've selected all the information in your table that has your budgeted and actual information. Then Google Spreadsheets will allow you to quickly just insert a chart, and it tries to give you an idea of what your chart information is going to be. To do that, all you got to do is hit insert chart, and it tries to kind of guess what kind of chart you want, right? In this case, I could have a column chart, I could have a pie chart, I could have this kind of budget actual chart, right? Okay, each one of these, this column chart this is what our double bar chart should look like. The actual double bar chart is called the column chart in Google Sheets, right? You could also use this chart here to change the way it looks, and you can look at the information horizontally. You could do that, where you just call that's a bar chart as well, but I prefer you to use the column chart. Okay, now once you've got your column chart set up, your information is listed below. Now you can take that chart and move it to wherever you want in your spreadsheet, and then what you can do is just take a little moment, go through your work, and just make sure that all the actual information is there. You're going to make sure that the title is here. You're going to make sure that there is a legend showing that blue is budgeted and the red is actual, right? And then once all that's done, all you have to do is come up with your final answer for this problem. Now, the other thing that you can do is once you've got your sheet, you can literally copy it by collecting your picture, Control C. You can go over to your screen of information, right? And you can paste it into your document, right? Then you just have to change the size of your budgeted picture, right? In your document, and then you can come up with your final answer. So now, the best part about this is about using these bar charts is that these double bar charts actually allow us to quickly scan our budget and see which parts of our budget were within budget and which ones were not. Okay, so remember, our budgeted column needs to be taller than our. So we clearly see that for any red bar that's taller than its matching blue bar, we have some issues. We're actually over budget. So in this case, we've got the things that are within budget are, we've got entertainment, which is within budget, right? And let's see, clothing is also in budget, and gasoline is within budget, but our groceries and utilities are over budget. Does that make sense? And that's what these taller red bars mean, which are matched with our blue bars. And you'll be able to easily see that in your spreadsheets. Now, let's move on to the next example. Alright, so now imagine that I'm giving you a problem where I have Victoria, who's a 32-year-old waitress, right? She works regular full-time shifts and makes that amount of money, right? She also earns some tips, and it's usually about $55 every month, right? And here's a list below of all of her fixed expenses and variable expenses over the month, right? So this month she actually earned $43.33. Now, here's what we'll do. We'll take a look at the basic graph that shows how this thing works. Sorry, not graph. We'll take a look at the budgeted example that shows how all this stuff works. Okay? And what I mean is we're going to take this information, put it into a spreadsheet, and see how much money that we have made for the month. And now for our income sheet, right? We show that we expect to make $55 for our tips, and we show how much money we actually make for each month for our income, right? And for this part, we're always going to go and do the actual amount minus the actual money minus the expected money we expected in the month, right? Now, that sometimes will show a negative balance. Now, you notice here, this one shows at $55 and $43.33 for the month. We're actually in the hole $11.67, right? Now, for our fixed expenses, right? For our fixed expenses, what we're going to do is we're going to take our budgeted amount and we're going to actually subtract it from the actual amount that we made for the month, right? And you'll notice in this case, these things are all zeros, okay? Now, in order to account for the amount of extra money that we have for the variable expenses, we're going to do the exact same thing where we're actually going to take the budgeted amount and subtract it from the amount that we have to pay out for that we paid out for the month. So we're going to go equals, and we're going to click on our budgeted column, in this case B15. We're going to subtract 55, which means we have a positive balance of $5. Now, all we got to do now is just copy down that information. Now, just like we did before, we're going to sum all the information in the column to see how much our actual budget is, right? And then how much our actual spending for the month is to see how much we're either over or under, okay? And then we make a change, okay? Now, what you want to do is you actually just want to sum your expenses all the way down to here, right? Now that tells me I actually am paying out $1,547.53, and we're only summing our information not from the top to the bottom, but from here to here. And what that does is our information tells us that we're actually, oh boy, about 40 bucks in the hole for our fixed and variable expenses compared to our totals for our income. Now, if our income isn't there, right, here's what you do. Just go into your income and then make a totals column. Okay, and then all you do is you just sum up the money that you expected for the month, and then you do the same for our actual amount of money, and then we do the same for our differences, right? So in this case, this month for our income, we're in the hole by $11.67, right? That's what this part means. Now, for our expenses, all we're going to do is sum up our expenses, and we'll do the same for this last column here. And you'll notice that we end up being $37.32 in the hole. Okay. Now, the last thing that we have to do is you have to recall that we did a bunch of bar graphs, right? Now, if we did a bar graph for this, the fixed expenses and variable expenses, all we got to do is put our information for budgeted whatever, and all we're going to do is we're just going to go and highlight this stuff here, put our information in, and all we're going to do to do a double bar chart of our graph is just select the information from here to here, and we go insert, we create a chart, and there is our actual bar chart. And now we can actually take the information from the bar chart and kind of make sense of what's actually happening, right? So clearly we can see that from Victoria, anything that is any red bar that's less than our blue bars, we're within budget. But in this case, oh my goodness, our groceries are too high and our utilities are too high. So we may need to adjust that in order to make us get a good budget for the next month. That's all you need to do. All right? And that's all we're doing for today. Now, have a good day, guys.